Hello, my name is Carl Surrey and this is a video tutorial for the Facebook group called Fans of Serif Software. Now, to be honest, tutorial may be stretching it slightly. This is more a look at a certain part of a tool that was requested by John Harris, one of the group's members. He put a question on the Facebook page asking if anybody knew about the Defringe tool, where to find it and how it worked. Now, to be perfectly honest with you, I didn't even know there was such a thing, never used it, but I said I would have a quick look and see if I could work out what's going on. And this video is going to be my best guess, for want of a better phrase, of how things work and what happens. Now, doing a quick look at the help files, which is for PhotoPlus, I just put in anti and then did a search, and in the modifying a selection part, it says that the anti-aliasing, however you want to pronounce that, produces a visible smooth edge to make the selection edge pixels seem semi-transparent. And a bit further down it says, if an anti-aliased selection includes partially opaque white or black edge pixels, you can use matting option on the layer menu, and then blah blah blah. I've got white or black matte removal is possible along with Defringe option. So using that as my starting point, I then went to the layers menu, and right down the bottom there's matting. And yes, you probably can't see this because it's gone off screen, but there are three options, which is Defringe, remove white matte, remove black matte, and they are currently grayed out, so unavailable. Now, they are grayed out because, one, we're working on the background layer here, and two, we haven't made any selections yet. And it only really works when you use anti-alias. Now, anti-alias is up here in this box. You can put a tick in to have anti-alias or not, and as you can see from that message, it says toggle between settings, a hard or smooth edge to a selection. So I'm going to do a sort of pretty silly test here, but if you just bear with me, I've got this other image here, and I'm going to use one of the polygon tools, because you have there, and all of these, I mean the rectangle selection tool uses anti-alias, as does the polygon tools, be it freehand, magnetic, or the actual polygon tool itself. I'm just going to use quickly the freehand tool, and I'm going to do this with the anti-alias ticked, and I'm just going to make a quick random selection, and then I'm going to go to edit, copy, go back to this other image, and then edit, paste as a new layer, and then I'm just going to use the move tool and put it up here in the sky somewhere. And as you can see, I now have two layers here. Let me just collapse this menu so we can see the layers better. And I'm just going to rename this layer anti, so I know that that one has got the anti-alias ticked. I'm going to go back to this image, get rid of the selection, and I'll go back to the freehand tool, and now I'm going to take the anti-alias tick off, and I'm going to make a very similar selection, and again just edit, copy, go back to this image, and then edit, paste as a new layer, and I'm going to name this layer No Anti, and then just use the move tool just to bring it up to somewhere similar like that. Now obviously this is only a silly test. Your selections would be much better and would fit the image that's below it, but I just needed an image below it because you can't work on the background. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to zoom right in quite high and up here into the sky area and try and get a little bit of both of those selections. I hope you can see that well. Now the one that is selected at the moment is the one on the right hand side, which is the one that had no anti-alias, and as you can see the edge of that is very sharp, sort of pixelated, jagged edge, whereas the one on the left, I mean it still has got pixelated edges, but it is much smaller and much smoother. So with the anti-alias you have a much smoother edge to your selection than you do with no anti-alias. Now this is where the Defringe option comes in to play, because if you had made your selection and used, now I must admit here I really don't know whether what I'm saying is true. This is how I perceive it to work. And I see that if you had made the selection and used the feather option, the feathering would have made this edge smoother by blending the pixels from the inside to the out. And I think the Defringe tool sort of blends it from the outside to in, so that if your selection is not 100% perfect and you may have a little bit of this, say a darker sky or something behind it, you can just use the Defringe tool to just slightly blend it into your selection rather than out. But like I said before, I'm holding my hands up, I could be 100% wrong here. So what I'm going to do is I'll just zoom in a little bit more, and I'm going to concentrate on the selection that has got the anti-alias ticked, and I'm going to go to layers, and unfortunately you can't see this because it's gone off the page, but you can probably see on the matting option, you can probably see that Defringe is now dark and usable, but the remove white matte and remove black matte are also dark and available. So if I click on the remove white matte option and you watch this jagged edge here, let me just, maybe if I move it over a bit, it'll be easier to see. Here we go, layers matting. I'm going to click on the remove white matte here, and if you look at those jagged edges of the pixels of the edge, hopefully you will see that some of them will slightly disappear. Yeah, they just moved in slightly. So if I now do the black pixels by remove black matte, they have again just slightly taken some away, and then I will then use matting Defringe, and then you can see that they are slightly smaller pixel troughs and mountains, however you want to describe them. And if I do the undo 3 times, which will get rid of defringing and bring back the black and white pixels, to my mind there's not a vast amount of difference from where we started to where we finished. But if you do need to just bring in those pixels slightly, I'm guessing that is what you can do. If I move over to the other image and I go down to layers, hang on, I better be working on that layer particularly. This is the one with no anti-alias selected. Bring it over. Sorry, I've gone too far. I want to be able to see this behind the menu. So layers, down to matting. If I click on remove white matte, see, nothing has happened. And I'll go down to layers, remove black matte. Again, nothing has happened. Now, if I remember rightly, when I first did this test, when I clicked on Defringe, some of the pixels disappeared. Yeah, a few did, but not as many, so it's still quite a harsh selected area there. So again, I'll go back 3 times and zoom out. Now, that I zoomed in there to like 500%. I mean, if I zoom back out to 100%, I mean, you'd be hard pressed to really know the difference. I mean, I suppose you can just about see the slightly jagged edge on this layer, and this one here looks much smoother. So that is how I see this tool working, and I could be 100% wrong, but I would say that if you want a nice smooth selection, use Anti-alias, and you probably do better to feather rather than defringe. But if you need to sort of just bring in your selection very slightly, defringe might be the best option for you. Now, I'm hoping that helps John Harris and maybe a few others, and I'm hoping I haven't made a big mistake about how I'm describing this, but it is mainly guesswork from what I've read and what I've practiced. So thank you for watching, and goodbye.